On NRAnews.com and Sirius XM Patriot, talking about the latest revelations in Operation Fast and Furious. Miguel in Fort Pierce, Florida, says, Cam, I think when the congressman asked government heads of departments like Napolitano and the DOJ chief Holder if they talk to each other, they should also add, in addition to talk, do you email, do you fax, did you ever write a note, did you use sign language, did you use smoke signals, did you send a friend, was there carrier pigeons involved? You probably have to cover all possibilities of communication because these government people use every little technical excuse not to answer yes. You probably have to question about all modes of communication because instead of talking to each other, they're sending messages in other forms. This past weekend, by the way, we had an excellent and successful Fort Pierce gun show, and we have a new gun store / shooting range in Port St. Lucie. Miguel says, you D.C. people need to come down to Florida to have a great vacation and a better shooting day. Hey, how about that, Miguel? I'm going to wait until it gets below freezing, and then I want you to reissue that invite to me, okay? And somehow I have a feeling I'll be able to clear my schedule. I would also say, in addition to asking Napolitano and Holder, okay, did you talk to each other? Did you send emails? Did you have a go-between? Keep in mind, Miguel, that the Department of Justice wants to have a new rule that would, in essence, give them a license to lie. This is something that's being reported in a couple of different areas. I'm looking here at an editorial from the Washington Examiner where they talk about on the Freedom of Information Acts, Obama wants a license to lie. The Justice Department, meaning Attorney General Eric Holder, has proposed a regulatory change. Under the new rules, the government could falsely respond to those who file Freedom of Information Act requests, that they could actually say that a document doesn't exist when a document does exist, if it pertains to an ongoing criminal investigation, concerns a terrorist organization, or a counterintelligence operation involving a foreign nation. They want to be able to say, no, we don't have that document. No, that document doesn't even exist, when in fact it does. So how about that? In essence, now keep in mind, Fast and Furious is an ongoing criminal investigation. So, in essence, the Department of Justice is saying, we want to be able to lie about these things. When somebody asks, okay, so is there a document talking about guns being walked into Mexico through Fast and Furious, where it was signed off by somebody, Lanny Brewer, Eric Holder, somebody. Even if that document exists, DOJ and the administration want to be able to say, well, no. In fact, that's preposterous for you to even ask such a thing. They want to lie to our face. Washington Examiner says there are two problems with this proposal. First, by not citing a specific exemption allowed under FOIA as grounds for denying a request, the proposal would cut off a requester from appealing to the courts. By thus creating an area of federal activity that is completely exempt from judicial review, the proposal undercuts due process and other constitutional protections. Second, by creating a justification for government lying to FOIA requesters in one area, a legal precedent is created that sooner or later will be asserted by the government in other areas as well. Now, under FOIA's current national security exemption, bureaucrats can deny access to documents without acknowledging their existence. ACLU actually noted this in a comment to the proposal by DOJ. They say, in instances where there is a legitimate ground for not confirming a document's existence, quote, the agency should simply respond that, quote, we interpret all or part of your request as a request for records which, if they exist, would not be subject to the disclosure requirements of FOIA pursuant to Section 522C, and therefore we will not process that portion of your request. That would actually allow the people requesting these documents to appeal that decision to a federal appeals court, whereas the proposal put forth by DOJ would deny them that opportunity. Chris Farrell, who is the Director of Investigations and Research at Judicial Watch, quoted by the Washington Examiner, Judicial Watch has been fighting White House over a FOIA request for copies of its visitor logs. Judicial Watch has also filed a FOIA request related to Operation Fast and Furious, and the White House says, when it comes to the visitor logs, that the documents aren't theirs. Or excuse me, that the documents are theirs, that they're not the property of the Secret Service, and therefore they are withholdable, the executive privilege. Chris Vail says every day the Obama administration misrepresents and conceals the true complete record of who is going in and out of the White House, all the while proclaiming themselves champions of transparency. It is truly Orwellian. A license to lie. That's what the Washington Examiner is calling this new proposal. Here we are, what now, going on 11 months after we first learned about Operation Fast and Furious. It's been almost a year since Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was murdered. And the administration's story continues to change. It continues to evolve, quote unquote. We have been told by the president, by the attorney general, that they didn't know anything about it. ATF never knowingly allowed guns to go into Mexico. Now you've got the head of the criminal division saying he was aware of it in April of last year and didn't do anything about it, didn't say a word to anybody. And oh yeah, he really regrets the error. And while they're doing this, remember, they are asking, actually they're not even asking, they're saying that they want a license to lie to the American people about things like Fast and Furious. We might have to get the folks from Judicial Watch back on the program to talk about this proposed license to lie from the administration. All right, also back in the talkbacks here, Frank checking in from Orangevale, California, says, Cam, remember the chant, Bush lied, soldiers died? How about Holder lies and agents die? Is that too crass? I don't know, Frank. I'm not really worried about crassness at this point. I want answers. And I think if that is too crass, it's honest. I mean, it's truthful, right? It's accurate. But the bottom line is we're tired of this. We're tired of these excuses. For Lanny Brewer to get up there today and say, oh, yeah, my bad, I'm really sorry, I knew about this in April of last year. Why didn't you say anything when the president went on Univision and said, we've never knowingly allowed this to happen? Why didn't you say anything to your boss, Eric Holder, when he testified before Congress in May? Why didn't you give him a heads up, Lanny? Why didn't you say, hey, boss, before you go and you talk to these folks, there's something you should know about. I actually learned about this last year, and I didn't say anything to you because, I don't know, I just didn't think it was a big deal. You didn't say anything to Eric Holder in May? What about in June when Bill Newell and David Voth and Bill McMahon were testifying before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee? You never brought it up then? I mean, it just defies logic and reason. And I don't think we've ever gotten an answer from Lanny Brewer as to why he decided to come clean now. Why today was the day that he decided to say, well, yeah, okay, actually I knew about this stuff a year ago. It just doesn't make sense. Let's see, Brian. You know what, Brian, at Ammo Land, I'm going to save your talk back for next hour because I want to spend a couple of minutes on the story that you just mentioned. Ron in South Carolina says, Cam, Fast and Furious is eventually going to be Obama's Watergate. Our Congress critters are waking up and will put an end to this scandal to protect their political career. You know, nobody died at Watergate. I mean, I think that this is, frankly, worse than Watergate. But, you know, mainstream media is going to cover this the way they've continued to cover it. You'll see the New York Times bother to report on this story when they can try to pin it on President Bush or the previous administration. USA Today, AP, White House, all of the major networks. They'll continue to parrot what the administration says. They're not going to devote any resources to any independent investigations. Thank goodness we've got folks like Cheryl Atkinson at CBS and Katie Pavich at Town Hall and Matthew Boyle at the Daily Caller, who really are doing